All right, what's up, me Duole podcast listeners? Stuart Anderson here, introducing our newest episode where we talk to two finishers of the Leadville 100-mile mountain bike race, Jesse Loper and Dean Walker. We're so grateful to have them on for a little bit, talking about how they prepared, what the race was like, how they got in, some advice for future riders, and then a big commitment for next year, putting together a huge Me Duole group to go to Leadville and participate in what these guys say is absolutely the hardest thing they've ever done. So it's a fun episode listening to these two beasts talk about their experience and hearing about what they did at Leadville and how the race works. So hopefully you enjoy it. Grateful for them, grateful for everybody on the team, and thankful for what's ahead. All right, welcome to Me Duole podcast. I am Stuart Anderson and joined today by these two Leadville legends. Super grateful. I'll have them introduce themselves in just one sec. But we're going to do a full race report on Leadville and everything that goes into hopefully preparing. I assume they prepared race day, registration, and what it's like to be at this just iconic event. I mean, bucket list event. From my point of view, I hope that's how they feel as well. So welcome, Dr. or the Dean Walker and Jesse Loper joining us, who both just did Leadville, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. First of all, congratulations, gentlemen. Well done finishing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Dean has actually done it 4 times. Jesse, this is your first, right?
That was second.
And we'll get in. That's right. We'll get into your first experience. Hopefully, you can share that story. Right?
Sure.
We got that. Nice. Well, I've ridden with both of these gentlemen a few times this year, and I would love for them to just kind of introduce themselves. Dean, will you introduce yourself first? Your cycling career, what you do professionally, and kind of how you're connected to the team.
Sure. So. Let's see. Professionally, I'm an orthopedic surgeon and specialize in sports medicine, which basically means knees and shoulders. Done a fair bit of athlete coverage and so forth over the years. Cycling, I started riding, years ago, back in the 1990s, 92. I think I bought my first Cannondale aluminum bike, and have mostly just ridden for the sake of riding and having fun. And haven't done a ton of racing. I'm a ride a loaded jaw every year kind of guy. I've done it 10 or 11 times, and a few other races smattered here and there, but nothing real dramatic. It's not like I've got a resume of a bajillion crits or whatever. Never been on a podium until this Leadville event. And so I can't really claim any sort of palmares, so to speak. And there you go.
Second place, though, right, Dean? This last
actually
just 2 weeks ago.
Third. Yeah.
Okay, third place.
What it really means is I'm just old enough to keep going and continuing riding.
Hey, that's a win. That's a big win,
dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, okay, Jesse, you introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. I'm quite a bit newer than Dean to cycling, but and a lot of you guys, so it's cool to be able to come in and ride with a lot of the Me Duole guys and meet you guys and get some knowledge and stuff. But I started just back in 2018, 2019, really. Got my first road bike in 2018 towards the end of the year, and just really, really caught fire. Love it. Before that, I was just at the gym lifting weights, and I got to the point where I'd done that so many years that I was super bored and had to be more outside. And so it was like, I was just looking for something for several years to be more active, and until I actually found it, which is funny because in college I had a couple roommates who were and good friends who are road cyclists. And I was like, man, I just have no desire to put the spandex on and to get on a road bike and go ride on the side of the road. I just had no desire to do that, but now I love it. So it's kind of funny.
You even podiumed East Canyon Road Race this year, which was pretty legit to see. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun, man. I've had some fun this year. Just being so new, I learned a lot in 2019, and then that's when I started doing racing, and then nothing really happened in 2020, just little races here and there. So yeah, it's been fun to come out and, show off a little bit of the Zwift fitness.
Nice. So I want to know, Dean, maybe your story about how you picked Leadville, how you got in. It's kind of it's not easy to get into the race, whether it's lottery or doing their pre-races and stuff. Dean, maybe talk, Dean, for a sec about how you got in.
So this is my fourth time, as you mentioned. The first time I got in was 2013, and I did get in on a lottery that time. Every time subsequent to that, the other ways of getting in, they have a camp, that's a 2-day, actually 3-day camp, that if you pay to get into the camp, it gets you an entry into the race. And I got in through the camp a couple of times, and then they also have a charity. If you donate enough to their charity, they give you an entry for that. And that was how I got in this time. My history with the Leadville is a little bit checkered, I guess. I crashed at the training camp, 2016, I guess it was, and broke my pelvis. And so that put me out until the following year. And then I did as I was training in 2019, getting ready to do it, a couple of weeks before the race, I crashed and broke a bunch of ribs. So my Leadville has led to me being laid up and a few different times, which hasn't been all super pleasant, but that's all right. And yeah, this year, so I just got in on the charity entry.
Okay. And then Jesse, your road was a little different. How'd you pick it, and then how'd you get in?
So for me, racing has just been about the bud time. So I had a friend going to do the stage race in 2019, and I heard about it through him and signed up the week of. And that's only 2 weeks before the 100. So it's the last weekend in July, 3 days. So they break up the 100-mile course into 3 days, and it's the exact same course as the Leadville 100. So I went out and did that, and had a blast. And I was lucky enough at the end, it's a qualifier. You can qualify by being, I think it's the top 3 in every category, get a coin, which is just an entry to the 100. You still pay, but then if there's any left, I think they hold like 10 to 15 or 20 of them that are just kind of lottery at the event. And so I was one of the guys who stuck around, and I got one of those, my number drawn out. So I got lucky, and I was like, well, crap. I guess 100. So that's how I
nice. It occurs to me that there might be people that don't know what we're talking about right now. So would you guys just spend half a minute and describe what this race is?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, sure. So Leadville, Colorado, for starters, it's the highest city in the U.S. So it's the highest incorporated city in the U.S. It's at like a little bit over 10,000 feet. It's right up from Copper, pretty close to Vail, but it's a little mining town that had some huge, I guess, economic struggles back in the 80s, early 80s, because all the mines were shut down. I don't know the details about that. Maybe Dean does, but basically the guy who started this race started it to keep that town's economy going. So he started a 100-mile ultra marathon foot race. Oh. And then about 11 years later, in the early 90s, they added the mountain bike race. And it's kind of taken off from there as being the hardest, highest altitude, longest one-day mountain bike race in the country, which you can imagine attracts people who have issues.
I mean, a lot of pros. Dean, we were talking before we got on about some documentaries about Leadville. I mean, pros go to this race. This is a huge deal. Did you guys? I mean, you guys mingled with pro. Just you were like hanging out with TJ the whole time.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Well, no, I shared an Airbnb with TJ. He's a buddy now.
Nice.
Like Crusher. We happen to have mutual friends from down in St. George, and so yeah, he's a stud. But yeah, it was cool. I got to go to the Lifetime Foundation dinner. I don't know if Dean was there. Were you at that, Dean?
No, I'm not that special.
Oh man, I just got lucky to know the right people, and yeah, some of the pros were there. Peter Stetna and some other guys, but yeah, Lachlan Morton. A lot of pros are racing Leadville every year, and so it's cool because you're out on the same course, and it's an out and back course. So as I'm going up Columbine, I'm just waiting to see, which pros are coming down first. And this year I got pretty excited. It was Keegan Swenson was out on his own by like a minute, and so I kind of cheered him on. I'm sure that helped him go a lot faster, but it's super cool to see that.
What do you guys think draws so many people to this thing? I mean, it is very popular, like from being at it and experiencing it. Dean, what do you think is the big draw here?
Yeah, the race has a bit of a mystique about it. The altitude, the difficulty, and the people that are there, and it's kind of a unique environment. You're there. It's a small town, and so everybody there in town is doing the race, and I got a selfie with Floyd Landis and Dave Zabriskie last time I was there, not this year, but you're walking around town with all these big names, and everybody's just pretty mellow and chill about the whole thing. It's really pretty cool, and they do a wonderful job of putting it on and setting it up and so forth. And like Jesse said, it's an out and back course, and the turnaround is at the top of the biggest climb. And so and a big part of that climb, you end up walking up. I mean, it's so steep and so high elevation that you can't do anything but walk and push your bike. So you're kind of trudging up this hill, and as you're doing so, the pros are flying down, and so you get a chance to see it all firsthand, and it's pretty cool.
What do you think, Jesse? What do you think draws so many to this thing? I mean, it is like you said, and I think Dean said, the hardest thing you've ever done. I mean, is that why people go?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? Yeah.
I think, there's certain events that are fun, and there's certain events that people do because it's a big challenge, right? Like Lodija. I don't know that it's fun in its own way, but it's a huge challenge. And that's a different kind of fun, just to challenge yourself and have that sense of accomplishment. And that's kind of what I compare it to in my experience. If there's a road race that I've done that's comparable, it's Lodija is the road version of Leadville, obviously with a lot less elevation, because Leadville, you do 100 miles, but you get over 12,000 elevation gain. So it's a climbing event that has some steep climbs and then some flat roads in between. So you get a little bit of everything, and the main climbs are pretty different too. You get a lot of different scenery on all of them. So it's pretty unique atmosphere and a unique challenge.
Dean, maybe talk about your day, like any stories or experiences that you had this year that would be fun to share.
Yeah. So, I mean, the race starts out. The thing that was different this year with the start is they did staggered group starts this year. Before it was just one big mass start, and they put you in corrals based upon your qualifying times, or your kind of expected finish time, which is nice because it gives the group a little bit of organization. And you start out on the road going down a hill out through town, and you're on the pavement for 5 or 6 miles, and then you turn onto some soft dirt road, and then you hit an uphill at about mile 8 or so. And when it goes up, it all of a sudden goes up at a fairly steep climb. And prior years to this year, when you hit that uphill, invariably there'd be some people who stopped, and then all of a sudden everything's backed up behind them, and so it became a mess. This year with the staggered starts was nice because there was much less congestion, so you could keep riding. The other thing that was nice is on the pavement. Prior years, it was pretty tricky. You got people who were behind who are trying to pass and so forth, and you really worry about being taken out by anybody. Anyway, as far as my day was concerned, everything went smooth. It starts out cold. It's just like Lotoja. You're cold first thing in the morning, and you drop down in a valley, and then it's really cold, and you're just trying to manage it. Stay in control of your bike. You climb up the hill, and then you got a little bit of a downhill, and then you climb up another hill, and then you're in the flats, and it starts to get hot. As far as my day was concerned, I didn't have anything really remarkable to tell about my day. It was long, it was hard, it was hot. By the end of the day, it was really hot. And I was shooting for 10 hours. I was shooting for 9 hours. If you finish under 12 hours, you get a big silver cowboy belt buckle, which is cool. And if you finish under 9 hours, it's bigger and it's gold. And I've been shooting for that stupid gold belt buckle now for 4 years, and I'm still my times have been between 9:15 and 9:30, and I'm just right there, but haven't quite achieved that goal, which just gives me more reason to go back, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
So, but it's a remarkable day. You do it. It's like similar to Lotoja. You have family there to support you. I have my brother-in-law and then one of my buddies who supported me. And then when you come up the finish line, they have a red carpet laid out there at the very end, and it's fun. It's really cool.
Nice.
So,
Jesse, how was your day? I know that you kind of had some redemption in your eyes here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you about my first time out there, and then maybe a little bit about the second time, this last time. But in 2019, I went out. And I have a great group of friends. I'm lucky to have just this group of buddies who a lot of them have done Leadville, and it's just like a tradition. It's kind of like Lotoja for a lot of guys, where one of my friend's brothers is a local pro who's won it a couple times. He's won Leadville, so they have like. I feel like I got coached by the best, and I just really expected to do well at it because I had done the stage race. I knew the course. And I went out, I was feeling good. But in 2019, I just blew my nutrition, just got off my game. I had done most of my training on road, because it's hard to find big, long, extended climbs for mountain biking like it is on road. And we've got these big canyons that simulate Leadville climbs better than most mountain biking climbs do. So anyway, the difference is on road, I had switched to eating these 400 calorie pro bars, these big brick bars instead. And so I did that about a month before Leadville, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this instead of liquid. And I'm out there on my mountain bike, and I just had no time or energy to eat. You know, you just can't pull a bar out and while you're mountain biking and ride with one hand. It just doesn't work. And so I had loaded my bottles with just one scoop. So they're about 100-calorie bottles instead of 300 to 400-calorie bottles. And to complicate things, when you get on the main climb, when you're going up towards the 50-mile turnaround, is where you hit the highest elevation. It's what, 12,300 or something like that, 12,400. And it was enough that it was messing with my head. You know, I can remember just kind of being out of it, and I was definitely off my game nutrition wise. Didn't realize I wasn't eating near. And so fast forward to coming in the last 10 miles, you come up a gravel road, and then in the last couple of miles, you actually get onto pavement and ride up into the center of town is where the finish line is. And I had been like a rolling zombie for 20 miles. You know, I can't really tell you who I was riding around, you know, and I can't tell you in that race, I have no recollection of a lot of the last couple climbs, except for when people I knew were passing me. And every single friend of mine I had on that course came past me in the last 20 miles. So I remember that happening, but that's about it. But I'm coming up in the last 3 miles, and I realize that I'm blacking out. Like, I'm on one side of the road and I'm going like 6 miles an hour, and then I'm on the other side. And so I decided to get off my bike, and I just felt insanely drowsy is what I felt like. And sometimes I'll get like a day, and I'll take like a 5-minute cat nap and it does wonders for me. I feel great. And I'm like, man, I have got to get off my bike and just close my eyes for 5 minutes and I'll be fine. And I'm like, otherwise I'm going to take a header once I get onto this pavement. It's going to be bad news. So I sat in a ditch on the side of the dirt road with 2 miles left and decided to take a nap. And apparently that caused a scene with everyone coming by trying to help me. And I'm waving on, just saying, no, I'm good. I just need a nap. But really, I needed to eat. I needed to drink. And I just felt like I needed a nap. So luckily, a friend came by probably within the first 5 minutes I was there. And, he's trying to give me his water and stuff like that. He calls some friends. And they weren't able to get to me. He calls some more friends, and he gets my supporters to come down from the finish line. And, they brought me some food and got me going again. But it took I was there for probably 30 to 40 minutes. It was probably about 40 minutes. I was just laying there hanging out. And when my friends came up, they're like, you've got to finish this. They're trying to motivate me. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm fine. I'm just taking a nap.
Really tired.
I'm just tired. So lessons learned, nutrition wise, I had a better game plan this time. I'm like Dean, man. I'm chasing that big belt buckle. That's a sub-9 buckle. And I started out the year doing awesome, training really well. And like you said, I was able to make it on a couple podiums and was riding pretty well. But I'm like, man, I got this. No problem, man. I'm going to go for like a 8:30, 8:20, like is what I was thinking. And then early July, I had started doing some trail runs, and I ended up tearing my meniscus. And in the process of finding out exactly what I tore and then having a family vacation in Florida, I didn't ride my bike for 3 weeks because I thought my season was done. But, Dean actually told me that I was good to ride and I wasn't going to do any more damage to it. So we could fix it now or later. And I'm like, well, this is a surgeon who's also doing Leadville, so he knows the challenge I'm facing in this ride and how challenging it is, and so I trust that opinion. But it took about a week, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna just see what kind of fitness I can get back, and and see if I can actually salvage this, because I was waiting since 2019 for redemption.
Right? Yeah.
So I gave it my best shot, but I came in this year in 9:13, which was extremely disappointing. and it was rough, because I knew for like the last 45 minutes for sure that I was off pace, and I was pushing as hard as I could, and I just couldn't bring it back. But it's frustrating, because a lot of the guys I was riding with 25 miles earlier came in around 8:50, so I have I don't want to make excuses, but you can't take 3 weeks off in July and gain 10, 15 pounds and try and cram in your training a few weeks before. But yeah, I gave it my best shot, and it was a rough day. It was a rough day. Dean can tell you this year it was a good headwind coming back in the last 50 miles. So it slowed a lot of people down.
When you guys look at going back or participating again, I know that belt buckle is it, but what else drives, what you guys learn? Is this like one of those races where you're like, oh, I love to see what this makes me, or I love the environment? What brings you back, Dean? Why did you come back? Is it just that belt buckle?
Yeah, it's kind of the why do we do this in the first place, right? It's hard enough that you've got to prepare for it. You can't fake your way, as Jesse just said. You can't fake your way through this one. You've got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to be prepared, and that's kind of what keeps me going. Frankly, is just it kind of keeps me. I like the focus. I like the direction that it gives me. I like having that carrot out there to kind of keep me motivated to keep riding and training. For me, I love the training. I love going out on the group rides with the guys. I love going out by myself and beating. Doing porter fork intervals and just beating myself to pieces. I love it all. And then the race is just kind of the reason why you do all the other stuff. And Leadville is hard enough that it forces you to really focus because you can't, at least for me anyway, I'm not naturally gifted enough that I can just kind of go out and do it and have a great time. I've got to really be on my game, or I'm in trouble.
Dude, third place, Dean. You were on your game, man. You nailed it.
Well, yeah. The funny thing is because it's not like you're with your group or anything when you're riding, right? So I didn't even realize I was on the podium until about 9 o'clock. Well, 8 o'clock that evening when I pulled up the results. It was like, oh, hey, wait a minute! I've got a reason to go to the presentation thing tomorrow morning.
Sweet.
Jesse, will you do it again? Will you go back?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Honestly, the day of, I'm like, I'm going to retire from cycling. I am not going to again. I can barely walk after, but yeah, no, there's no question. It is hard to get into, but like Dean was saying, there's several different avenues to get in. And so if you want to get in, you can find a way, whether you do a qualifying race and get a coin there, or I got in through the lottery this last time. So yeah, I'll go back and do it. And hopefully I can show up with some good fitness and finally get that big buckle. I have a big buckle from the stage races, but man, I just, for me, it's just bragging rights amongst friends. Like, I need that big buckle.
I have to have
yeah, and that's part of it, man. It's such a hard race that I would love to get that big buckle and retire from that race.
Nice.
And that's what makes me mad about not getting it this year, because I'm like, man, I got to go back and do it again. But no, it's an awesome event, and just amazing culture.
That's cool. Yeah, the other race directors that we've interviewed over the last, couple months, it is that culture of the race that really brings people back, kind of that environment that people love to be a part of, that really makes these races successful. That's cool to hear.
Definitely.
What if you were going to give advice, Dean, when you walk away from this, let's say you've got everybody listening now that's like, okay, 2022, I'm doing it. What do you say to those people?
Well, again, you got to be prepared. It's just like, what advice would you give somebody when they're going to do load-a-jaw, right? You've got to be prepared. You got to have your nutrition dialed in. The equipment is an interesting one for Leadville, and a big discussion around, what do you ride, hardtail or full suspension? I even saw a couple of guys on I think they were gravel bikes. I'm not sure, Jesse. Maybe you saw the same guys, but I know there were a couple of guys on drop bar bikes, which looked insane to me.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But I don't know. As far as advice that I would give whoever might be listening to this, it's really fun. It's really rewarding. Be prepared for something harder than you've ever done. And in my experience, it's similar to load-a-jaw, but it's much harder. I think the altitude adds a whole new dimension to it that makes it that much more physically challenging. But that being said, I think it's very rewarding, and it's a great time. It's a really good time.
How about you, Jesse? What advice would you give even somebody that's like, I don't know if I want to register or how to, anything that you would say to somebody wanting to do it next year?
I think it's, I don't know. I think that one of the best you can do is the stage races, the way that I got in, and go and preview the course broken up into 3 days, or the camp that Dean said he's done. There's they actually have volunteer opportunities. I don't know if they do at the camp, but if you volunteer during, say, for the race in 2022, you'll get an entry for 2023. The way that I understand it. So they if you volunteer, you get in the next year, from what I've seen. And I've had several friends get in that way, So if you want to go and volunteer and support a friend next year, that's a good way to get in too. But my advice is do it. If you like mountain biking and you like challenging hard things, it's the biggest, baddest race around. It's amazing. It's an awesome race.
I need some more insider secrets here. You got to at least each of you got to share like an insider secret that only past participants know.
Don't take a nap at mile 100. Oh, here's the insider secret. The funny thing is, where I took a nap was over mile 100, and I'm like, man, I did not know it was 103 miles. And now they forced to where it's 105. And I'm like, oh no, I prepared for 100. I'm stuck, so prepare for 105, because that's what it really is. That's one in secret.
Well, I respect you.
Go ahead. It's dry up there, and so whatever solids you put in your mouth, you're probably spitting out. So you plan on as much liquid nutrition as you can handle, in my opinion, because I like Z bars. I eat a lot of those on my regular rides, and they're not very dry, in my opinion, as some of the others, and it was too dry. So yeah, bring chapstick and prepare for dry environment, because that can. Yeah.
I respect you. Oh, go ahead, Dean.
I was gonna say for my nutrition, you're right, Jesse. Previous years, I tried to eat bars and so forth. and it doesn't work. And I got into trouble nutritionally on the other times I've done it. This year I had my nutrition dialed in, and I drank, had scratch mix in my water and did gels, and that worked really well for me this year. I didn't even bother eating food. I think I had a fig Newton at one point in time, but that was about it. But yeah, it is so high and so dry that, and like Jesse said, it's on a mountain bike, you're trying to go hard and fast, trying to pull out a bar and unwrap it and eat it. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I respect you both as men and as athletes. Maybe as we wrap up here, I would love to hear, advice to the team on anything. Dean, I'd love to hear from you first. Like, what advice would you give a 20-something year old member of this team that you've learned just from riding bikes and life in general?
Enjoy the journey. The racing is fun, but it's for me, it's all about the camaraderie with the guys, and enjoy the journey as you're on it, and don't get too hung up on results or whatever, and realize that there's always going to be another day, and don't push it so hard that, there was a guy that died this year at Leadville, and that's not worth it. It's just not, to try to go too hard too fast. And what happened is there's a switchback right towards the very end, and it's at the bottom of a downhill, and so you come into the switchback going pretty hard, and he just overcooked it and blew through it and hit a tree, and that was that. And so enjoy the journey, and enjoy the relationships and the camaraderie with your friends and your family, because that's what it's all about.
Nice. I love that. Jesse, how about you, man? Any Duole advice?
Man, I get my advice from this podcast, so I don't know the other episodes. I don't know. I just do it for, like I said, I just do it for fun. And, I've talked to guys and said, about racing. And for some guys, they say, I don't race. I just ride to have fun. For me, I have a lot of fun in the races. That's the way I have fun. So, I guess do what makes you happy and what's fun for you. For me, I like doing several different races. I've done a few different road races this year. Mountain bike and gravel is kind of the newer thing. I started last year, but I'm planning. I just did last best ride up in Whitefish, Montana 2 days ago, and planning to do Belgian Waffle Cedar City. Was a lot of fun last year, so nice. Planning to do that again. But yeah, just respect the process. I'm still pretty new at it, and at times you're riding with guys and you feel like you're fast, and then you go out and ride with Stu and you're like, good heck, man, I learn, man. So
yeah, well, when you show up to a 100-mile ride on a gravel bike, yeah, you might feel that way out on the road with the Iron Cowboy.
Oh man, yeah, that was a fun. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you both. You are both incredible ambassadors for this team and cycling in general. I was with Dean one time this year going down Immigration, where we stopped and helped two guys that had crashed, and it was inspiring to see him, use his skills and his life to help those two dudes that had crashed right by that fire station. That was not a great situation for them, Dean, but the way you handled it and took care of them, and those guys, man, that was brutal. And then Jess, the time, not a good morning. Oh. Just the time we shared with Iron Cowboy, that day was so fun. And then watching you go down and help him time and time again, man, that was just awesome to see you down there. And anyway, I appreciate you both. Really respect you both. So,
well, thank you, Stu. It's a pleasure and honor to be associated with the Duole guys. Thank you.
Yeah, same.
Well, more to come. Let's do it. I'm in for Leadville next year. I'm doing it. I'm bag and loaded you. No more. I'm done with that thing. Let's do something cooler.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, I would love to have some more guys come out and do Leadville. That it's such a cool community and event. It would be great.
I'm game. Sign me up. Here I am being accountable. I'm doing it. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to hold you to it.
Okay. All righty, fellas. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate you both. And I guess till next time.
Okay. Thanks, Stu.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.